Today is the 10th of March, 2021, and it's a year since we started this project. This is the 11th edition, and we've got a really nice set of guests tonight. Let's start with them going in order. So Gaelle from Element is going to present her work. She works for Element, and she's been working on the VoIP UX, and she's going to share her progress there, in particular some of the upcoming designs, and she's going to ask your opinion on them. So you might want to get your typing fingers ready. We have David from CryptPad, who is designer, and he's been working on the CryptPad stuff there. He's going to present his latest work. And then David Revoy, who is Divad, he says, because we have too many people called David on the call. And so he's going to present some of his open source work, and he's going to present some of his artwork. I think he's going to give us a demo a bit later on. And as ever, we have Matthew joining, and he'll no doubt be interjecting later on. But let's start. Let's start with Gaelle. Why don't you share what you've been doing?
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my screen with you guys. Let me know if everything is all right. Can you see?
Yes, looks good.
Yep. Okay, great. I'll just make that bigger. So hello, first of all, I did not say hello. My name is Gaelle, and I work as a product designer at Element. And historically, Element has been kind of more focusing on areas of, text messaging and about receiving and sending messages. And now is the opportunity for us to further explore and improve basically our voice and video communication experiences. So I've been working on a variety of projects like VoIP projects, as well as integration of voice messages inside the mobile apps as well as on the desktop app. And most recently now is going to be highly conceptual, and really looking forward to get your insights and feedback about this new concept. Is about integration of voice rooms. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of everything, starting with, I guess it's going to be calling experiences. So quickly, just an overview. The aim for me when I jumped into this project was to really kind of make sure that there was a unified experience about for both DMs, so private calls, as well as group calls using Jitsi. So both are using different technologies. So it was very important for me to make sure that everything was kind of unified and consolidated, and to have that kind of smooth, non-friction based experience. And making sure that obviously I would introduce native and consistent visual languages across different platforms, and obviously adopt a familiar interaction patterns for smooth UX, and make sure that I responded to user expectations in that specific type of interactions, which is heavily prevalent in the industry of communication. So let me just show you first what I've been doing for voice calls using Matrix. So we've got basically kind of a little bit of a storyboard. So within the UI, we have changed quite a few things. In order to pass a voice call, you just press on this button at the top, which obviously would be launching a notification at the top, but also within the timeline. And users will also see incoming calls coming within the room list. So there's really some good visibility about calls incoming. Now you might think, oh, that's quite a lot here going on. But imagine if you were in another room doing different things. Getting a call is actually something that should be requiring a lot of your attention, and you should be quite responsive. So you do need to have those elements popping in different areas. It's just for discoverability. So yeah, that's the very basic UI for when you accept the call with Matthew. You're going to be everywhere in my mockups.
Yay!
You're everywhere. So yeah, here we have some information within the timeline. We have some information within the room list, as well at this level. And then this is another view if, for instance, the user decides to navigate somewhere else in the system, like in another room. Let's say I want to go in the VoIP room. I click in there, and that my call is still on, is just reduced. So that's really kind of allowing you to do multitasking or doing different things at a time, which you would probably be doing as a user using voice calls. And just like a brief overview on how it looks like on the mobile platform. So here it's Android. So it's the same system where basically you get a simple notification at the top and a notification within the timeline. That's the view for when you're outside the specific room associated with the call. Typical kind of call UI. And just another view, but yeah, very basically that's how it would look like and behave generally on mobile. And then I have a similar, obviously, experience for video calls this time. So the control is over there at the top, so it's really quite accessible for people. And we have notification just like voice. So it's really working just like voice. So no surprise for that type of call. Within mobile as well, I embraced typical patterns that you would find in any kind of video-based communication system on mobile. Yeah, with the ability to see yourself and change orientation of your camera, what happens when you go back, etc. So yeah, it's quite exciting project, and lots of improvement. And that was also thanks to the feedback that we received internally from Element that allowed us to basically improve from what we had initially. So thanks everyone. I've been using your comments to reshape it basically. And this is the last area or last flow for calls. So that's group calls using the Jitsi. So in this flow, basically, it's the same system. So here we are, for instance, in the VoIP room, we get notified of an incoming call within the room list, as well as the top and within the timeline as well, which if you are somewhere else, again, same model. If you are in Element London, you would see this here, which is not as prevalent or not as obvious, but then you would have a more obvious notification here, so you can't miss your call. And you do have some information about who is calling within this specific group, which is also very useful for users from our research and information from speaking to users. And then within, this is just a view for the actual group call. Get a timer, etc. And then that's again the same system as before, just to show you how it is exactly the same. But we have that unified experience, speaking one language, which is what we want. And obviously we'll want to be learning from user testing and obviously expanding on this at a later stage. And that was just the view for group calls. On mobile, same. So very simple. I mean, it looks simple, but it wasn't as simple. But here you go. That's the view. So yeah, I have finished about for group calls and calls in general. I guess, I don't know if we have already some questions or comments about this section, because I'm going to be delving in my second section and then my third section later.
There was a question actually coming in, which we could inject at this point, which I think I saw going past from Oleg, who was asking about the dial pad icon that he saw lie past.
Right. Yeah, the dial pad icon, I guess for this mock-up, it was for an external project, so it's not necessarily going to be available for the version and the element. So yeah, just try to ignore this one.
I think it might be available in general, but it's basically for hooking it up if you want to talk DTMF through a bridge. So if you want to like press actual buttons to navigate a phone system or something, then that will be the user interface for doing so, because for better or worse, the phone network does still exist out there.
Cool. Here you go.
I'll carry on.
No worries. So my second section is about exploration of voice message. It is a very prevalent feature available in most messaging apps out there, and this time was an opportunity for us to explore that and to propose something. So I've done some work on all platforms for that, which again, I'd like to show you. So that work, obviously, especially on mobile, because I've integrated the voice functionality within the composer, meant that I had to do a lot of tweaking on the composer itself. So you'll see that the way the composer works or looks is really, really different from the current version. So this is iOS, which meant that I also had to change a lot of things at the top here and restructuring the whole information hierarchy to allow for new functionalities like VoIP calls or voice calls, which is exciting. It makes it a little bit more fresh. So yeah, just generally, we have our first screen here with the microphone, which when you start typing, it goes away. So that's the major change. And we have also the ability to get new options over here within the contextual menu. And the change that I was talking about at the top in the nav bar basically is going to be looking like that. So before we had a whole band with a lot of things going on, which is now with the integration of those new things allow us to basically make more changes here and have more space on the UI now. So yeah, just overview of the change for the composer. Voice message, which is the thing that we're most interested in over here. So it's a very basic interaction model using very familiar model that's available out in the market, where basically you have two types of way to send a voice message. The first one is literally you press and hold, and then it records. And if you release, it sends you a message. And then we have just a kind of locking system where when you press on the mic, you can lock it. And once you have locked it, you don't need to hold anything anymore, and you can record as much as you want with free hands, which is obviously can be quite useful. And we are also proposing actually a way to play back your recording by pressing on this little bar. You access the little playback feature. And then you can listen to yourself as much as you want and send it. And yeah, there's just a view with the recording over here. So yeah, that was quite exciting. That was the mobile version. did obviously the same for our desktop, which meant also a lot of change in our UI in the top navigation area and in the composer area. We listened to, we had a lot of comments from people in the community about having integrated a send button within the composer. Well, actually, integrating the voice control was the excellent opportunity for us to basically use the send button within the composer. So the mechanism here is simple. If you're not using the mic, you're going to be typing. If you're typing, you don't need the mic, and then you can start typing, and then you see your little send button, which is great. And the functionality here on desktop is very simple, embracing basic desktop-based interactions, where you just press on your little mic, it starts recording, and you can stop it to playback, you can delete it, you can send it as well, obviously. And over here, you can just an overview of what happens when you are wanting to stop your recording. And you can enter playback mode and send it. And here you go, you've sent your first voice message over here. So yeah, that's it. That's for voice messages. Lots of work, very exciting thing to be working on for myself and for the rest of the team, I suppose, as well. Do we have any question on that area?
So there's only a couple of things. One of them concerned the idea about the release to send option being made optional to basically avoid having to accidentally send empty or 1 second long voice messages. Is that something that the team discussed?
Yeah, so basically we're going to put in place a method to not have those kind of examples where it would only start recording after you have pressed for a certain amount of seconds.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good solution,
so
actually.
That kind of accident shouldn't really be happening. In terms of the actual interaction model, it's something that was a little bit unsure of initially when I explored this functionality, because I am not myself a heavy user of voice message. I wasn't very familiar with this interaction pattern of, pressing and holding and then releasing, and it sends it. That was a bit surprising for me as a designer, that this was an interaction that was actually very prevalent out there. All apps that I've been looking at, all our major competitors are using this model. So that tells me something about it, and tells me that, once again, as a designer, I should not think about myself. I should be thinking about others. Who are we designing for? If most of our apps are using this interaction model, it means that it's been tested, and it means that people would be expecting this model as well. But at the same time, we're offering the other model, which is maybe a little bit more secure, maybe more for people like me, maybe for other type of context when you're wanting to send or record a longer message, maybe locking it might be more appropriate. So,
right, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other questions are slightly more producty technically. What is there an ETA for this? I'm not sure that's a fair question for you. Matthew's there.
I don't think we've got a firm ETA for it yet, but obviously with the designs this advanced, we want to hustle on and implement it as quick as possible.
And another implementation question is the waveform produced locally?
Because we haven't implemented it yet. We don't know, but I assumed that we would send a thumbnail of the waveform, possibly as an image or possibly as something else. We just haven't spec that yet, but as we implement it, it will happen.
Yeah.
If people have got strong thoughts, and do let us know as to how we should thumbnail it.
Well, I mean, we're already getting how do I implement this in my client type questions. All right, Gaelle, let's let you carry on.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you. The last part is the voice and video rooms concept. For this, we're really, really keen to hear from you guys about what you think. First of all, from what I will be showing you in just a second, and secondly, about what you know about voice and video rooms that are already available in the market. So I'll be coming back to those questions at the end of my little show and tell session here for creative voice room. So again, bear in mind it's very high level and highly conceptual at the moment. So creative voice room. So I've got different flows to show you. So currently, this is our UI with a typical timeline for a group. So here we're in the VoIP group. We are now introducing voice rooms, which are essentially just rooms without text-based chat, is solely based on voice and video chat. So I'm just going to show you how to create one. So simply you would press on the plus button over here, which would bring a lovely model where you can just enter all the details of your new voice room. So in this case, I've decided to call it Midnight Owls. Create your room. And then once you created it, that's you. Here you have your new room called Midnight Owls. It is now connected and is available within the voice room area on the room list panel. And you already see yourself, a wonderful portrait here. And you can or invite people straight away within that tile. You can also invite people over here. And you can change the settings of your mic, change the settings of your camera, for instance, if you want to choose another camera to see, etc. So that's the very basics of how to create a voice room. Now, invite people to a voice room. How would that work? Very simply, as I just mentioned before, on the tile, through the tile, on the button, or on the bottom button at the bottom over here. That would be bringing a modal, which brings up a variety of names, and you can send your invites that way. That's how it works. Very, very high level ways. And then I have just an example of what will happen if you've just received an invitation to join a voice room. So you would get the same type of notification kind of cards that I've introduced before in the VoIP project appearing on the top right to, again, make sure that you see them, and within the timeline associated with the person that's invited you to the room. So 2 different ways to join a room. Once you click on join, you are now on the kind of preview area. You're now on the Midnight Owl area where you can just choose if you wish to join with your camera on, off, mic on, off, etc. You choose your settings there. You join the room, and then that's you here with your pals from your Midnight Owls voice room. And then if you want to be navigating somewhere else, again, same interaction pattern, a visual pattern as the previous examples. I'm going, for instance, on Benoit or Element London in this example, and I see a little reduced window, which I can go back to whenever I want to, if I want. So I can click in there to make it larger, or I can click in there to access it as well. And the good thing about having controls like that in the panel allows me to quickly hang up or stop the connection from anywhere in the app. That's it for the high-level concept of voice rooms. So as I said before, we're really keen to hear about your thoughts on it and your experience using similar types of systems or features. I know Discord does a very good job. So if you guys have used Discord in the past, what is it that you like about it? Was it that you don't necessarily like? Messenger from Facebook also has rooms. Be curious to find out if you know any other that we may not be aware of. And yeah, just tell us about what you think. That would be appreciated.
So people in the chat have been comparing it quite favorably to Discord, which is good. I think Discord's probably the big player in this design space. Kim asked, what's the benefit of voice rooms over a room with a call? Is there any difference? And what's the design thinking there?
Basically, a call is something ephemeral, so it only happens within a specific amount of time and chosen time by the caller. So if I'm not at my desk, I can miss my call, and it's not like the typical kind of chat system that you would have text-based, where everything is happening real time and you can jump in and jump out whenever you want. Basically, with the voice room, that allows you to do just that, to come in and come out as you want. Now, as we progress, we might put in place different things to, I don't know, perhaps we want to set up specific times for this room to be active or not. But in the meantime, it's just going to be a kind of a forum area that you can join whenever you want as a user, with family, friends, with colleagues, or different types of contexts.
Yeah, David, who we're actually going to hear from next, has also just said in the chats, quite similar. On Discord, I like that the audio rooms, I'd like channels that you join without a room in the UI, meaning that you keep interacting in text chats. You just plug into the audio feed. And then Noah also pointed out that he likes the status, which we're now getting, as in you're now in a call. This is the status. Cool. Yeah, so I think the feedback's pretty strong. You're going to have to scroll back through some of the room data, I think, to get a better vibe for it.
Cool, excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaelle. That was great, and it's actually super good. So we've been testing some of these pieces on and off internally. Not the voice messages, of course, but the VoIP improvements, and in particular the performance improvements. And things are they're getting better. They're getting so much better every day that we test them. So thank you for sharing that. All right, we have 2 Davids left. Of our 3 French people, 2 of them are called David, plus Amandine. So let's hear from David from CryptPad, who has been working on the design there. Hello, David.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here. We're a distributed team, so we basically live in Element. Very happy to be joining this. So,
that's cool.
Are you seeing my slides okay?
Yes, looks good here. Yes. You're full screen.
Great. So yeah, I'm David Benqué. I'm a designer on the team at CryptPad, which is made by a company called XWiki, based in Paris. Oh, there we go. So CryptPad is basically a collaboration suite that's end-to-end encrypted and open source. That means we're basically aiming to provide the same functionality as well-known suites like Google Docs or Office 365, but in free software that is built for privacy. I joined the team in November 2019 as a designer. The project had already been going for about 3 years at that time. And like many free software, it had not been subjected to a kind of coordinated design effort or attention. So I came in with a really broad kind of job spec, which was like, improve the user experience or something like that. And so after a year and a bit of reflection, I think that basically boils down to improving communication on many different levels. Like that can mean very different things, but I'll try and show a few aspects of this. So basically what I'll do is I'll give you a quick tour of CryptPad, what it is. and then talk about my role as a designer with a few examples. So basically, CryptPad is based on encrypted real-time collaboration. That means that everything happens on the client or in the browser, if you like. No unencrypted data leaves the browser. And the server is able to synchronize edits between people working on the same document, for example, but does not see anything of the content. So that's the kind of USP of CryptPad. The project is made at XWiki SAS, which, as I said, is a French company that has been making open source software, knowledge management, wikis, etc. for over 15 years. We're a small core team of 3 mainly. Aaron McSween, who is the project lead, Jan Flory, privacy engineer, and myself, and Ludovic Dubost, the CEO of XWiki, also helps promote the projects and contributes code, etc. The project is public-facing since 2016. It is fully free software on the AGPL3. We have a flagship instance, which is at CryptPad.fr, and that has about 80,000 weekly active users at the moment. And there are about over 500 other instances out there that we know of. We don't know of all of them, so yeah, there might be more. Quick presentation of the software itself. So we have a drive to store your documents and organize them with folders and shared folders, etc. We have a rich text document, which is an integration of CK editor. We have code and Markdown with live preview, which are based on CodeMirror and Mark.js. We integrate OnlyOffice to provide spreadsheets, and we're looking at integrating the kind of 2 other apps of OnlyOffice for text document and presentations, equivalents of famous apps I will not name. We have a Kanban board, which is based on JKanban, and that was recently redesigned with additional features like tag sorting and Markdown body on the cards, etc. We have a Markdown slides, which I'm presenting from at the moment, which is also based on CodeMirror and Mark.js, like our Markdown pads. We have a whiteboard based on Fabric.js, and a poll, which is probably our worst app at the moment, but we have secured funding to completely redesign or refactor this application to make it more useful. So this year it'll get a lot better. The main problem at the moment is that once you have edit rights on the poll, you have edit rights on everybody's answers. So you really have to trust the people you're working with for this to be of any use. So to finish, I just want to mention the way that we are funded quickly. We are all XWiki employees, but CryptPad is kind of self-sufficient within the company, or at least aims to be. Right now, our main sources of revenue are subscriptions on CryptPad.fr. We have paying plans to get more storage. Research projects for specific features and improvements. These have mainly been from EU funding so far, so people like Internet Foundation, NGI Trust, and also recently Mozilla Open Source Support. So these are research projects that have a set of features associated to them, and we get funding to develop them. And then we also get subsidies from the French government. And we have an open collective for donations. And so at the moment, these are roughly 1/3 each between research projects, subsidies, and then subscription and donations. And so in the next 2 years, our goal is to become financially sustainable on subscriptions and donations alone. So that's our kind of horizon at the moment. So I've tried to map my role as a designer on the team. And this, or at least what I was able to scope out so far since, a year plus. And this is what I came up with. So it's basically like coming back to this idea of, it's just about communication. It's a kind of a full stack communication, which, goes from little UI details like buttons, features, all the way up to logos and identity, support tickets, marketing copy, documentation, etc. So it's quite a diverse role that I'm quite enjoying, even though it could be done by a team maybe. So one tangible example in terms of communicating, we had the need to differentiate between different ways that you can delete a document on CryptPad. You can remove it from your drive, and that's if you want to leave it for others who might have it in their drive. You want them to keep it. You just don't want it in your stuff anymore. And then there is also an important use case with sensitive document that a user would want to know that something is deleted right away. And so this used to be called delete from the server, but many people don't really know or care what a server is. So we ended up switching this and differentiating between removing and destroying with this shredding icon. So that shows you kind of in a fairly micro detail the kinds of trade-offs and communication elements that I think about when working on the product. Something way more macro now is the rebrand that we released very early 2021. So this was a refresh of the identity, new logo, and new typeface, which is IBM Plex, to give us a chance to appeal to people. The first time I visited CryptPad after seeing the job posting, which was about 2 years ago, the homepage kind of made me pause in terms of, making me want to proceed further with this product. And I'm already someone who has a lot of time for kind of quirky free software project, and I'm quite willing to try things. So it was recently, kind of long-term victory of mine to be able to clear things out in the on the homepage, and to make things more legible and cleaner. And I think there's still some work here to make things more engaging and legible, but yeah, that was a start anyway. I started using illustration language to kind of suggest some of the more technical things that might be at play. So we've yet to see like how this pays off or if it communicates in any more useful way, but at least it might be more fun than a paragraph of text about encryption. I've used this to highlight important moments as well. So the key thing on CryptPad is like we cannot do anything for you if you forget your username and password. So I've put an illustration there to highlight that moment and to really make a point of it. There is also text on the actual page. This is just the form here I've pulled out. There's red text next to it saying do not forget your password. And obviously as a designer I have to highlight the dark mode that we recently released as well. this was actually obviously a very long-term request from many users. So we were happy to roll it out. And it was kind of a perfect storm. We did this whole refactoring of our styles. So there is now like some clean color schemes that I actually understand with variables that can be easily customized. And this was all happening around FOSDEM, where the new Figma Killer pen pot was released as an alpha version, which is really exciting. So we now have like a system of colors and a new tool. Like I might actually make a design system for CryptPad and do mockups properly. Until now, I've done a little bit of work in Figma when I can't avoid it, trying to not get locked into it as much as possible. And obviously all the design system stuff are like premium features. But I found it quite fun to actually design by hacking on the platform itself, for example, with markup in code documents, because all the styles are already there. So if it's to like whip up some quick dialogue or something, I can fairly easily have code and see the result right away. On the near horizon, stuff I'm looking at doing in the next few weeks, I'm going to be improving our documentation, which is also funded by one of our current research projects. The user guide has been published since the summer and is now I'm keeping it up to date on our release cycle. And then we have a dev guide that's going to be in progress, hopefully for the next version, if not the one after that. And then after that, the administrator guide for people who want to set up instances. And so what we'll do here is that me, the designer, will actually follow existing guidance on how to set up your instance with a kind of sandbox server and see how I get on and just do a little journal of my adventures in CryptPad sysadmin land. I think we're going to talk more about Krita later on, so I really want to give them a shout out for their documentation as well, which I actually forked for ours. Yeah, it's great software and great documentation. Another thing I'm looking at doing is making more use of CryptPad to communicate about the project. So this is a public roadmap, which is not yet public, but will be after a review that's going to happen soon. I'm also looking at using a text pad for or a rich text document for our privacy policy. And I was recently also looking at the onboarding document. So the first document that we put in your drive when you start. I've been rewriting that yesterday and today. And finally, the major challenge for me for 2021 is to improve accessibility. We've had feedback that accessibility on CryptPad is really not ideal. And that was not always considered, or there wasn't always time to do that when there was only a team of two. So my goal is to bring everything up to at least a AA, and hopefully more for some aspects. So yeah, this is the biggie for this year. So that's all I have. You can contact us in many different ways. Favored one being the Matrix channel, obviously. But we've also got Mastodon and Twitter and GitHub if you find bugs. And I will be posting the link to those slides in the chat if you want to click on some of the links.
Great, David. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. And actually, you know what how I know it's good is that I now want to get more into using CryptPad and feel like I've been wasting my time by not investigating it more. We've got some great questions. Actually, there's a question which I wish somebody had asked, which is how you talked quite early in your presentation about your work. You sort of spend your time between design and product, which obviously quite closely connected. And I just wondered how you split your time, and how are you essentially assigning, is product you assigning designer you tasks, or how do you manage that sort of internal work?
I mean, to be honest, it's really fluid, right? Because it's only 3 of us. So we might have, we have generally a 2-week release cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So we take things from the research projects, from the backlog of features we know we have to get done. Mm-hmm. We put them in the, what can we do this release? But then, something might come up. If you sign up for a plan with us, you get more storage, and you get 1 business day support.
Okay.
But we're answering the support tickets. So right. If 5 premium users have an issue, and if one of them is like an involved problem where we have to solve their spreadsheet because there was a bug or something, then that might dramatically change our schedule.
I mean,
but broadly, there is a pace with features paid for by research projects, which are quite stable.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are like small fixes, kind of headless chicken stuff where you have to fix things. And then I think for me, there is also like an overarching kind of direction. For example, the rebrand happened over, started in before the summer, and only got released in January because there was no money for it. So it was constantly like living in a branch, kind of putting upstream in as we went, and I was just hiking on that, and then that got released.
Anything can get rearranged in the schedule and the roadmap, especially when the team is tight.
But I think we're getting better at using our own kind of Kanban stuff, and looking at stuff like that public roadmap. I think is helping us to structure ourselves, but also communicating, for expectations a bit better.
It sounds so familiar. Working anywhere small, or working in the open, and at the same time trying to support users. So let's talk a little bit more about users. There's a really tough question here, which is people. Thib says that this really appeals to his privacy sense. But who's the real target? Who do you find are your customers?
So as it stands right now, I don't have exact numbers in my head, but there are a lot of people in Germany, maybe over half. And we seem to appeal a lot to German teachers in particular, because perhaps GDPR is pushing them that way. Okay. But I don't know. Overall, the German, I don't know if it's German or Austrian, but one of the pirate parties in the German-speaking world maintains an instance and translates CryptPad in German almost instantly. So there's a very active kind of community in that sector. And then we have people, quite a few environmental activists. The tricky thing, and I don't know if you have the same with Element, is it's very hard to know because we pride ourselves on not knowing anything about our users. So we have to from support tickets basically, and the odd kind of thing that slips or whatever, we know that we're popular amongst environmental activists, and we've seen spikes last summer around Reclaim the Block and Black Lives Matter, things like that. And obviously just general spikes since working from home is a lot more widespread. So I think it's a mix of small businesses, organizations like schools, and then groups of all sorts, not necessarily commercial, like activist groups and stuff.
So on the subject of those activist groups, or at least those activists, not quite the right word, but groups that are interested in privacy, have you worked with Somebody's asking here, have you approached...
Just scroll back.
No, I have it. Has the group approached different data privacy groups for alignment with various privacy laws, HIPAA in the US, for example? So these are a set of standards that governments are often providing. I don't know. I mean, I imagine that CryptPad already supersedes them. So I wonder what the value is there.
So I think, I mean, again, I'm not like super clued up on all the legal stuff, but one thing we started doing, for example, because we're getting that request a lot, is providing data processing agreements. So we have plans for organizations, like basically above 25 users. And for these, we can provide a data protection agreement, which is required for some of GDPR stuff.
Okay.
And then we sign that and have like that extra contract. So that's an example of like alignment. But yeah, I think the problem is more like communicating and having it in our privacy policy rather than like technically adhering to anything. Because like by default, we kind of, it's
you're almost certainly already doing it, but it's the box checking exercise of the bureaucracy to get it around. Yeah. All right, talking about box checking bureaucracies, somebody's asking about packaging. In particular, given that it's a collection of web apps, is there any desire to package them for Debian? Not sure this is your department, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Totally not my department. I can tell you that there is a Docker image, if that's at all related, but we actively don't maintain that anymore. That's community maintained, but I think it's quite well maintained by the community. Other than that, but then to package it for Debian, you would have like desktop apps. Is that what that means?
Yeah, I mean, you would essentially be wrappers the way you have it
right
now. Yeah.
So we're not providing like sync to the file system as it stands right now, but it's something that's on our like horizon level.
Interesting. I mean, that would definitely increase the utility from my point of view, is to have a local sync copy or even a local first copy.
So we are moving more and more towards having CryptPad work offline.
Mm-hmm.
So if by local you mean like in IndexedDB of your browser, that's nearly there, and that's going to be there in the next the next couple of releases. I think you'll be able to work offline or soon. But then local, if you mean the file system, then that's much further away.
That's further away. Okay. And then relatedly, Kim again is asking integration with Nextcloud.
Don't know about that. I think Nextcloud already has some encryption and some integration with OnlyOffice.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to note is that we don't use OnlyOffice server at all.
Right.
We integrate it within our own kind of secure collaboration. So whatever OnlyOffice or Nextcloud have as far as encryption is concerned, we do something completely different from that. We just get the front end.
Right.
But I'm not aware of any plans to integrate further with Nextcloud.
No worries. Thank you for trying to answer. I know not all these questions are your world. David, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you for your work. And then from one David to another, though this time it's Divad. Why don't you tell us about your work? And I think you're going to do a presentation or a demonstration with Krita. Is that right?
Yes, it's right. I think I will start with a little presentation, like some slides to introduce a bit my work, and then I want to show you the highlight about the things I like into Krita, something that you can't find maybe elsewhere or something.
That's great.
I will share my screen for the slide. I hope it will work.
Looks
Sharing
good.
And view presentation.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So you probably saw this on the social media. It's something I posted for this talk. And yes, a bit of disclaimer, but I'm not alone tonight. So
no, we should rank the French accents, but
but yes, I would be also slow to speak. It's not because I'm slow-minded or something. It's because I'm always trying to find my words. I'm doing sort of live translation in my head permanently, so it's a bit difficult for me. So just a little bit about my background. I started as a painter, traditional on canvas, drawing, making portraits on the street. And before that, I was a kid with console and with computer, and I really liked the basics and everything. But yes, when I grew up as a teenager, I became more a traditional art person. But it was around the 2000, because I'm not so young now. And the internet came, and the possibility to do digital painting came, and I switched to digital with my tablet and making some illustration with Photoshop. At first, I became a Photoshop teacher. I became a book cover illustrator, board game, etc. And that was in between 2000 and 2012. 2010, sorry. And then I had a sort of problem with a Vista operating system. And I had to sort of buy again all the license of my software. And then I decided to try to find some alternative. And because I was very curious about computer, I had a Linux Mint, and I was exploring the software of that time, mainly the GNU image manipulation program, and MyPaint also. And there was also Krita on it. And I started to join the project of the Blender Foundation, the Open Movies, also for doing concept art, character design, sometimes art direction. So maybe you saw these movies made by the Blender Foundation. But that was great to work only with open source software at this time. And then I decided to continue for my own career after that. And I continued to make my book cover, to my board game, etc., with only open source. And I started to contribute also to Krita a lot to give feedback. I'm more like a beta tester on the team. And then in 2014, I started a webcomic on internet. That was the start of the platform like Patreon, where you can crowdfund this type of media. And I was really lucky that Pepper and Carrot was accepted by the audience. So I made a little slide about what is Pepper and Carrot, because it is still what I'm doing now. It's a website at first that distributes a webcomic, and it's a free and libre and open source webcomic. What it means to be a free and libre open source webcomic, it means that all the source are on GitLab or on the server, that you can download the artwork. And it means also that I'm open to contribution. And thanks to that, I have the contribution of a lot of translators that are very friendly. And it's over now 50 languages for the comic itself. So I tried to design a system for translating the comic based on the SVG. And also some fan art, because it's a part of the open culture. Pepper and Carrot is Creative Commons attribution, and games, other projects. I skipping very quickly. Cosplay, I really like, and books also published in some countries. So this is all possible thanks to the supporter of the project, and I have this platform, so I want to thank them always for that. And yes, I hope it gives a little overview. And now I will do the part of the Krita demo. But maybe there is some question before.
The only real question, lots of people are sharing their adoration for you, but the only real question, I think, is what stylus are you using? And I guess there's an implication there of, and how well does it work on your Linux setup?
Oh, so I published a video recently on my channels, PeerTube and YouTube, about the tablet I'm using. But maybe if I put my screen like that, maybe you can see my face now. I can probably take the camera and make some filming up. But so here is my point of view.
Yeah.
And this is a large tablet. Sorry for the camera shaking. I'm very bad at the camera stabilization. And it's an Intuos 4. It's a very old tablet, probably from 2010 or 2012. And it's a very large model, so I can put my keyboard on the top of it.
Very large.
My screen here in front.
Yeah.
And my stylus is just the default stylus that come with this type of tablet. I also use another tablet that I connect from time to time. It's here. It's not red. It's just packed into something. I will remove it. Sorry for the camera, more camera checking. And it's this one. Oh, it's reversed.
Yep.
It's a Cintiq Vacom Cintiq 13. So it's 5 years old model. And because they are old, they are very well supported on my GNU Linux system. Because when a new hardware comes on the market, it often doesn't have all the drivers and all the settings and all the fine things. So the advantage of getting a very old tablet is it's proven to work, and the community often made a lot of bug reports, and it's often very plug and play. So I'm putting back the camera, sorry. Sorry for grabbing you around my room like this. And yeah.
So we had one more question from Thibaut, whose name I butchered earlier. He asks how technically versed you are, because I know you came from a traditional art background as opposed to coming in from the tech direction. And I guess the question is, do you open like highly technical issues on the Krita repo, or how in touch with the developers there are you?
I don't have a very big skill about my technical skill is very not big. At the start of the 2000, I made some training to be webmaster, but at that time it was just HTML, CSS1 maybe, and a bit of PHP.
Yeah, different world.
Yes, and I kept doing that. So I still write the Pepper and Carrot website over a CMS, but it's a bit of PHP, it's a bit of CSS, it's a bit of HTML. And that part is about my limit of knowledge about the web, this and FTP for sending files. And on another side, when I started to be on GNU Linux, I really liked the bash, the terminal. For me, it was looking like my old Amstrad Basic, where I had a prompt and I could write stuff, and the computer was listening what I told. So I started to very like bash script, and all the render farm, all my automatism on my desktop. Even when I do a video, I have now a lot of bash script everywhere to automatism everything I do. But my writing style is not functional. It's very linear. I put one command line after one another. It's if, else, if, and I do so many things with that only. So I'm really happy, but I can't consider myself technical at all.
I think that's plenty. I guess the form of the question was, what we find really valuable is having like power users submit their bugs. So if you've got like a patient user who just submits good quality reports, then that's really handy. And it sounds like you are that guy for the Krita team. So,
yeah. So, for example, for Krita, I know how to use Git. So I can, for example, read a commit. I can build a branch. I can do all these type of things. So I know how to report a bug. I know how to make a backtrace and all of this. So yes, I have this technical background, but this is only came with the time.
Yeah, so people in the chat are saying, "Oh, I'm not that technical. I can only write Bash scripts and use Git." And I think you're crossing you're crossing the two scales in a great way. Let's let you continue though, because otherwise.
I think I have so many great talents about programming in the Pepper and Carrot community, and I'm surrounded by them, that I'm very humble about my own skill.
The other thing is you're constantly surrounded by technical people, so your baseline is in the wrong place. Look, I'm going to let you continue with the art, and we can see what you've got to share.
Yes. So here is my screen. I will put the little camera on the bottom. Maybe you can see it, the screen and the little camera.
Yep, you're good.
So this is not an artwork I made especially for this. This is an old artwork that I just added the matrix and put a spoon because of what I posted on the social media. But I wanted to show you the one thing that I very like about Krita, and it's a feature that I find very unique for the software. You know, the problem of the painting fill tool. When you select a color, for example, and you have an ink layer like this with transparent background, and you want to color it, because there is aliasing, your fill tool will always do this type of things. And then there is tricks. You have to use the layer under, you have to expand a bit the selection, etc. But the Krita team came with a very original idea, and it's called the colorize mask. And you can go to add with a right click on the layer and put a colorize mask like this. And then you can just show to Krita, not ask, but area that you want to get the color. So I'm coloring here very badly, but I want to say that carrot is this color. Maybe the spoon is that color. Maybe the background, I will use like a green screen, like that. And the book, maybe some blue here. Oh, I have the paper. Maybe I can put a marker, a bit more precise like that. And then I can ask Krita to compute that. There is a little wheel here on the layer. It does the work, and it proposes a sort of preview mode where I have my stroke and where it expanded. I don't want to give a pronoun to Krita. Sorry. It expanded the colorization, and I have a little preview mode, the little pencil here, and that shows what Krita made. And as you can see, it's perfectly under, and even where I had some gap, like here, the color perfectly stopped. I have only here, but to be fair, I haven't made some marker, so it was hard for Krita to understand that. So maybe like this, like that. And here we go. So it's a tool for making very quick colorization. Maybe for an artwork like this, it doesn't represent a lot. I could have colored this one manually, maybe in 10 minutes. But in a comic page or in a comic project where you have a lot of page, you can save a lot of time with this. So I want to show some option. If I select the colorize mask tool and go to the tool option, I can now set one of this color to transparent. And I will click update. And now I have my background that is transparent, the green screen. And so I can convert this layer to a paint layer, for example. And now it's not some marker anymore. I can isolate the transparency, for example, and take another brush and start painting inside, calling another things and shading or doing whatever. So this is just a feature I wanted to show because I think it's very powerful for a painting software. And if there is question about this one, I will do a tiny post to see the chat, because I want after to show like this way a lot of little feature like this. So yeah, there is one mention that Krita does all the work and I have no talent, and it's very true.
So, while we're on that subject, then, talking about this feature, was this introduced for you? Because surely this is mainly useful for comic book designers.
It's no, I will not pretend it's for me. It's for the Krita user at first, yes. But at first, I started to work with in collaboration with David Chumperley of the Gimmick project, and it's a French research project, and they started to make this sort of algorithm for automatic colorization, and I started to be part of a paper with the Gimmick team about it, and then the Krita team saw this paper, so you can find it on my blog. I will just go, sorry, because it's easier to find maybe if I go search color, and it happened maybe 5 years ago, like this research with Gimmick, and we had the problems.
Amazing.
And the type of marker, and all of this now is included into Krita. But at first it was more like a paper for graphics, and a big work from the Gimmick team.
Well, that's super.
Yeah, I really like with the years, like contributing to giving feedback for a feature like this and see them build, and then now I use that in my webcomic also. So it's a lot of advantages. I see a lot of very sympathetic comment. Thank you. So I will move to maybe another feature. Expect if you see some question.
Yeah, I'll jump in if there's specific questions, but yeah, you go ahead.
So if you have a stressful day and you want just to relax, Krita is very good software for that. You have here on the toolbar the multi-brush tool, and you can just pick this one, pick a preset. I would just see the color, take a painting preset that looks good, and then start to draw, and you will get some mandala effect, because it paints like this in symmetry, but there is like multi-symmetry at the same time. So yeah, I will try to focus a little bit and not color the same color than the character. That would be very looking bad. And yeah, you can take just your time and make beautiful shape, and it's a lot of fun. Put a little relaxing music, and if you want to even push the experience further, you can check here. You have the wrap around mode icon, and you press that, and now you have your canvas repeated like forever. So this mode is very good for making texture, because now you can paint everywhere, maybe here, or maybe there. And it works with all the layer also, but this is a very powerful feature. And if you combine it with the multi-brush, yeah, you can make some very crazy pattern and very complex mandala. And I'm not saying that to joke. That's something that I really did in the past sometime, to just put a relaxing music, and I have no idea what to draw, and I start like this, and things quickly start to appear. Right now, I'm not seeing anything appearing like in this pattern, but I'm sure that some will start to see a character with some hair like this, but that's a bit scary. Maybe it could be a bit more cute like that. And no, this is not what you think. Up. And we have like little characters. I erased everything. Sorry. So this is one of the features I wanted to show. If you want to come back to your original, you can deactivate the wraparound mode, and at any time you can also pick a usual brush and start to paint normally with Krita also. So if there is any question about this mode, do you stream your drawings? From Thibaut Charles. I did. I made 10 live stream. It's on my YouTube channel and my PeerTube channel. But right now, I'm not doing it anymore because I had the brilliant idea to put my desk into the living room. So that's a very good idea to be interactive with the family and work at the same time. But I have also some noise, some interruption, and it's very hard to make some live stream. So I'm not sure I will do them again, but I continue to post some tutorial. And right now it's even weekly, so I'm really happy about that.
Some people commented, and I like the idea that you're doing this for relaxation. You know, you just sort of doodling and hope that something comes up in using the Mandela tool.
Yes.
Somebody also asked, is talking about the auto color feature and also the Mandela, are these features unique to Krita, or are they available in other platforms?
It's very hard to tell because now I'm the type of user that use Krita since maybe 10 years. And I stopped to use Photoshop CS2 in 2010, and I left when it was Painter 9.
Right.
I even never tried Clip Paint Studio, that is now a very big software in the industry, and so I don't know if this feature appeared or maybe they came on another software. Maybe some people on the chat knows a bit more about that. I would be very curious to read that or read the backlog. But I think that the feature made this way, it's probably only Krita, and the attempt of making an autocolorization feature is probably existing elsewhere, and this type of symmetry tool also probably exists elsewhere.
And then okay, so we've got a couple of creative questions and some technical ones.
Yeah.
How much do you draw other things that are not pepper and carrot, and how do you find other subjects?
So I have a sketchbook that is here. I can show the cover, but yeah, I will switch the screen. So because the cover will probably tells a little bit about for the geeks around. Oh, and behind. And yeah, on my sketchbook, I'm basically doing anything but not pepper and carrot. So sometimes it's view from a place I visit. Sometimes it's
okay. So drawing from life. Yeah.
Yeah, drawing from life or drawing from random technical ideas, thumbnail. Maybe this is for pepper and carrot. So, but on the sketchbook, I have no limitation. This is just a testing area. So, and I also spend a little bit of my time with French organization named Framasoft. It's a non-profit organization for the free software, and also, but more than for the free software, for privacy and for many other aspects that I can't explain in English because I don't have the vocabulary. But for example, I made the mascot for PeerTube.
Yep.
I'm following the project named Contributopia of Framasoft. that's also a campaign for their action. So yeah, this is when I'm not doing pepper and carrot, it's mostly that I do.
So we actually had some Framersoft folks on recently. We had Angie was on talking. Yeah, it's been good. And at the time we were commenting on the graphics on the website. There's a couple more questions. I don't know how in touch you are with this kind of question, but do you know anything about the Blender tooling? So people are asking about the grease pencil features in Blender 2D.
Yes. I know. I can even show you something. I will share my screen again.
So I guess all these questions come down to which should I use, Krita or Blender 2D?
Oh, don't choose. Use both. Use both, and use the GNU image manipulation program too, and MyPaint and everything. When there is another software, it's more option for us, and more option is always better, because it just adds some string to our arc. Sorry, maybe it's a French idiom that I'm using, string for arc.
A string to your bow, we would say.
A string to your bow, yes. Arc bow. Yes, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
And yes, I would try to see if I have archived this animation. Book cover, blah, 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 video publishing. Oh, yes, this. So I have a blend file here with a tiny animation that I made for the publishing of the book of Pepper and Carrot. And this is a 3D object. I drew it with a grease pencil. So these little guys, they dance. So I don't know if you can hear the music, but
that's fun. That's fun. Sorry, I'm getting muted.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, it's not you.
Yeah, I put the headphone on the microphone. That's a low technology sound loop. But yes, this is a good software. I'm very following all the news about Blender and grease pencil, because it's just more possibility. And if I can export this frame and then shade them later into Krita, that has also an animation and frame system, it's even better. Maybe I can do the background in Krita and this in grease pencil. Maybe I can insert 3D object.
So it's not even as if you choose features from one or the other. You use every part of everything and use them both.
Yes.
But do you have a kind of standardized format to go between one and another? How do you export? What kind of format do you use to switch to?
For the moment, I haven't experimented with a real switch, but I think I would go for just the PNG frame. I would maybe I have it was at the fall, so I'm not. Yes, you see all the frame. It's PNG here, and I export that from Blender, and you can import that back from Krita, and that can be a sort of interchange format to get just a folder with the name of the frame, maybe. Right.
And then you use SVG as well, maybe, or?
Yes. So in Pepper and Carrot, I use a lot of the SVG format. So, oops, this is the next episode, but I will show you. I will show you on a page of the previous episode how I use SVG. So this is a Pepper and Carrot page. So there is the artwork made in Krita in background, and all the speech bubble here are part of the SVG. So you can see it's object that you can put into piece, and even the sound effect. Sometimes they are a bit more complex. They use the SVG filters, so they are still translatable. So if someone wants to go to the Pepper and Carrot source and start to do a translation, it's really easy with Inkscape. You just need to open the file. It's even more simple. You go to Lang, and inside you have all the translation. Just take the base, so it's often the English version, and Control-C, Control-V to another language and start to just edit the SVG. And because it's SVG, they all share the same artwork that are here at the root. And this is just a preview. This is a small PNG. The real version has a lot more DPI, but for the repository, the Git repository, I need to keep the preview very small, because our repository with all this episode and with all the contribution is now over 1 gigabyte, and we need to sort of get some optimization around. But yeah, that's the way I use a lot SVG for presentation, when I do posters, when I do font. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for sharing. There's one more question about versioning. Do you use you talk a lot about Git? Are you using that, or do the software themselves have version control?
I have version control now in all my projects. So even if I open just a folder for a little animation, and I saw that I could just do a Git but local, just on my computer. And it really improved my way to work, to have just like a mini time machine for myself. So when I do that for my own folders, the commits are really dirty. I just stage everything and make a commit that just another change, just more change and everything. But it's a very good tool. But for Pepper and Carrot, yes, the Git, there is more like maybe 5 to 10 repository between the website, the wiki, the tools. We use the font because yes, it's the font letters. So yes, all of these are like repository with their own fonts for the project and everything.
Right. I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, repos for everything.
Yeah, repo for everything, and a little GitK here. But yeah, we got a lot of merge and a lot of nodes everywhere.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's not just history. You're actually branching and everything there. Okay.
Yeah, because each time someone put a translation with GitLab, it's now a merge request.
Right.
So it comes into a branch, and that's why we have a lot of merge, and
Gotcha.
It's totally fine.
That's super. So what do we have? I think we're that's all the specific questions. Did you want to show us any more features of Krita?
Maybe one, yes, that I really like also. If I select all the layer like this, maybe I have my face in front of the layer stack. I will just offset here. But if I put all the layer inside a group, Control G, and it creates groups. Now, if I select the group and I do a transformation like that, the transformation will be recursive on all the layer inside the group. And this is something very fun, because now I can just deform, for example, with Liquify, sorry, Carrot, and press Enter. And now all the layer inside this group will get the deformation. So you see the colorization and the inking. So I really like this, because when I do some mistakes in drawing, and I have a lot of layers, that my coloring, that my character, my background, and I need a last minute big change, like moving an arm or something, this feature that saved my life. For example, even putting things into perspective, up, like that. And yeah, it affects all the layer in between. Yeah, the recursive transformation is very impressive to me. Oops, I have a little glitch.
Makes me wish I... See, the thing is, watching you do it is one thing, but then, of course, if I load any of these programs and try to do the first thing, then I'd be no better than...
Just start by lighting a candle and making a mandala.
Yeah. I think that's what I might do is just to use your meditation method and just drag around.
I had a quick question, which is there a scripting layer on Krita at all? Is there like Python or some kind of language to automate it if you want to do macros? Or
Yes. There is a Python API, and in setting, configure Krita, you have here. I will just try to. Woo! You have here the Python plugin manager, and you have the module that you can load or unload, and there is a website with everything to learn how to make this. So I'm not just starting with Python, but I really want to put my hand into it just to make this step by step. Sometime I have to reduce 5 actions to a shortcut or something.
do you know if anybody's done any collaborative editing on Krita, like Figma, but using this engine?
Collaborative what, painting?
Yeah, it's like Figma, but for painting.
No, I don't know if it exists.
That could be really interesting if there's a Python API and we had some kind of decentralized real-time communication fabric, which would be looking at doing more structured data in. So for the last week or so, I've been working with Keegan on the Matrix team to see whether we could do more structured data in Matrix. It could be really interesting. Anyway, cool.
Cool.
This is
And here comes the new Black Ops team in Element.
Eventually, everything is bridged.
I think something like that was underway for Inkscape, but vectors are probably way easier to collaborate on than pixels.
Yeah.
True. Yes, because as soon as you have an action like taking some wet brush. So, for example, if I take one brush like that in the background and I start to smudge, I don't know how this could really be like a vector reset or something.
Or you could just replay the same events on the other things. You could literally
okay.
unlike art-based model, perhaps.
That's cool.
All right. So people in the chat are sending loads of options and ideas for this. Thank you, David, for presenting on Krita. It was really awesome to see what you've been doing. And people are all saying thank you for your work as well. And the tutorials. We didn't even mention the fact that half your website is filled with tutorials and guides and these things. So
thank you.
Appreciate that very, very much. So let's say thank you. Thank you to Gaelle for your work and also for presenting the state of things on VoIP. Thank you to David David B. Is it David Benqué?
David Benqué, yeah.
Benqué, okay. For your work on CryptPad and for presenting.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. And thank you to David Revoy for showing your Krita and art skills. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
All right.
Yeah,
Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye.
Take care.